grabbing my guests to pop on. Here we go. Hey, Kristin.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm surprised I figured this out. I've never done this before.
I saw your post and I was kind of dying laughing. You're like, I'm so nervous. I'm like, trust me, it's a piece of cake. Hold up just one sec here.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, hi, Juanita.
Oh, Pepper Pigments. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Great. And I couldn't figure it out on my laptop, so I'm on my cell phone.
Me
Oh,
too.
that's totally cool. That's totally
Really?
cool.
God, I'm not the only one. I feel good.
It uses up a fair amount of juice, these lives.
Okay.
So if your phone's low, maybe grab a charger.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll have to do that quickly.
Well, welcome, ladies.
One second here.
Like, get your chargers.
Right?
I'm gonna grab my water.
Get the water. I have an extension cord somewhere. Oh, there's an outlet right here. Great. Never used this one. Didn't even know it was
There
here.
we go. All right.
Okay, we are
Sounds good.
sorted. We are ready to kick off this amazing IG Live tonight. I have two of my students from the Paramedical Tattoo Academy with me to talk and honor Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is almost coming to a close. If you don't know, how do you not know? But all of October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we have been doing a series of lives this month to showcase why 3D areolas are important and to explain to everybody what we're doing, why we're doing it, and essentially educate. So without further ado, I have prepared some questions. We're gonna just jump back and forth between the girls here, and we're gonna get through it. Are you guys ready to rock and roll?
Ready as I'm going to be.
Me too.
All right, let's do it. So I'm going to get you guys to introduce yourselves in a second. So why don't we start with Kristin? So Kristin, tell us a bit about yourself, your business, where you're located, and where you've trained, services you offer, and how long you've been tattooing.
Awesome. First thing I want to say is thank you so much for allowing me to join you. I'm just completely enamored by the work that you've done, and you've been a inspiration for my business personally. So I just want to say thank you. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. That is so sweet.
Yeah, I'm very honored to be here. And I am actually located in Southern California. So I am about an hour south of Los Angeles. So
Okay.
it's a small little rural area, even though most people don't believe there are any in California. There are. And it's called Redlands, California. And I'm kind of a small little one-man operation here. I have a tiny little space that I have kind of created my little home and my little workspace. I have only been in the industry for about 2 years. I actually came from a very strong corporate background, and I have a very large family, and found out that that wasn't what I wanted to do with my life, and it wasn't providing the balance and the family life. So I have an amazing friend who actually had gotten started in the business a while back, and she started training. And within the first 5 minutes, I was hooked. I knew it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I remember kind of sitting there thinking, wow, you know what? If I can make someone feel amazing with brand new brows or brand new lips, just imagine how life-changing it would be if you could actually do something a little bit more impactful for them. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm kind of small, and I do offer all of the cosmetic, like permanent makeup services, but I do also offer the paramedical tattooing and the areola restoration as well. I was able to take your course for the paramedical tattooing, which I absolutely loved, and it was a huge jumping point for me from cosmetic and like permanent makeup into actual tattooing. So it was really cool. And I trained locally at my friend's studio here. Her little area is called the Rouge Beauty Bar. She's in Redlands also. She's amazing, super sweet lady. And then I also took Terry Lively's Areola course. That was prior to when you launched yours, but I will be taking it too.
Yeah, awesome.
You know, the more learning, the better. So I've just tried, you know, take as much as I possibly could and really just kind of grab any type of information I can because, you know, more is always better. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think always educating, not just for PMU, but for paramedical is so important. And I think even for myself, I still learn, and there's still people that I want to learn from. So I think just, you know, having a thirst for that is key. Well, awesome. Thank you, Kristin. And what about you, my lovely little medicine hatter, Jessica?
Yeah, little Southern Alberta girl. So for me, I had a lot of experience as a body art tattoo artist. I'd been tattooing for about 10 years in that industry. And then I wanted to go into paramedical, but it was one of those things they're just like, well, I don't really know where to start to switch. And then I was always looking at your courses online, probably for 2 years. I stared at them, was like, when am I going to do this? When am I going to do this? And then what really did it for me was when my mom had to get a flap reconstruction on her lip after removing some skin cancer. And just her going, the moment she went through it that day, I was like, I am just doing this. Just knowing how she was feeling in that moment, I was like, why am I waiting? COVID I was on maternity leave. COVID kind of slowed down my tattooing on hold. And I was like, well, I'm going to do the switch. Now's the time to do it. So took the courses, got certified, and the information in your courses was great. I was a little nervous, like, well, is it going to be a lot of repetition? But it's a lot of things that I think actually, looking back as a tattoo artist, I almost think apprentices should take your courses to go through what you teach in general when dealing with skin or scar tissue, because as a tattoo artist, we would go over scars all the time. We didn't know what kind they were. We didn't know how they would react or what to expect or how to approach things. We never really dealt with dilutions unless you're doing like gray washes and stuff, but not skin pigments.
Right.
And the idea of tattooing skin pigments was like, oh, I don't know if I know how to do that. Like, I know how to tattoo all the other colors.
Yeah.
How do I do skin pigments? You know, like, how do you approach that? What if it's too dark? And your courses go through all that and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was a big pivotal moment for me. And then areolas, I've always wanted to do. I mean, I've been in art school, so I've been drawing women for a very, very long time. And I always wanted to do the areolas, but for me, it was a pigment thing. I didn't really want to play around with mixing pigments on people from the color lines I was previously using. And then, and your Mina method, the way it just breaks it down into those simple steps, it kind of shuts off the brain from it. It goes, okay, this, then this, then this. And it made it really simple for me just to do it. So it was perfect. It was perfect for me to transition into. And even just doing, I did the Day of Hope there and doing her set there. She's in love with them. She's absolutely happy. And I never say anyone's more fulfilling than another person when you tattoo them, but definitely when you have like the cases of trauma or healing in the previous tattoo world, it's amplified with what these women go through, even as survivors. Not even just like they're survivors, but I only learned recently about the term survivor, and like they still go through the same surgeries and the same traumas and the same fear and family members. And I really wanted to be a part of helping that in any way that I could. I like when people feel good. So.
I love that. And I think it's so interesting. I love when I have originally body tattooers on, because I really respect that part of the industry, because I think they were kind of the pioneers of this and really got the ball rolling with ink and skin, of course. And then this is just sort of another like subsidiary of that. And I think it's the closest form to that as far as, you know, like PMUs and paramedical tattoo artists crossing over, because they're not always, you know, the most
PMU is definitely different in like approach.
It is. And I think just, you know, body tattooers have different philosophies on thoughts and on how they do things, and then PMUs do. And I think sometimes those worlds sort of collide a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I love that you enjoyed the course, and that I really respect that, because I think, you as not only an artist, but a body tattoo artist that's just a really amazing compliment. So thank you.
Mhm.
All right, girls. Okay, let's kick it off with Kristin. I've got some questions for you girls. Okay, how and when did you first learn that areola tattoos were a thing?
Oh my goodness. So for me, I think I was probably in my mid 20s when I had heard about the first one being done. And I am also very artistic and was always drawing and doing all of these things. And I thought to myself, wow, that's really cool. That's something that I can't even imagine being able to do. Intimidating, I will tell you. You know,
Mhm.
any type of actual physical life form is terrifying.
Yeah.
So it's extremely, scary. And I, for years, had thought, okay, I'm going to go to the Art Institute. I'm going to do all of these artistic things. And it just never panned out. It never worked out for me. And it was okay because I actually ended up kind of finding a new respect for it, kind of the avenue that I ended up going through. And I knew immediately upon starting any type of machine work that I was now capable of kind of taking that next step. And I would say, before even taking any of my initial my permanent makeup courses, I knew that my goal was to follow through and to do areolas 110% because, just being fascinated even as a younger adult and being able to have kind of the skill set to be able to pursue that was just it was overwhelming and
Yeah.
it's like, it's exciting because it's such a neat thing to be able to do.
Yeah. Unreal. Okay, Jeska, what about you, girl?
Um, I always I had this like assumption it would be a thing because we did a lot of tattooing for cancer patients, but it was like artwork based. So I just assumed that it would be available, but I didn't actually really look into it until a few years ago. And it was the ART brand that does like I forget what they're called, but like the temporary ones, and then they have like their courses and stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked at them for a while, and then that's when I found your stuff and was like, well, this one's local, and I kind of went that route. But I don't think it was really that long that I really knew of it and in like that industry, because it wasn't really that known. Like if we were at our tattoo conventions, you'd see the odd artist that was with their ART stuff on the table, and you're like, okay, so where are you getting those skins from? And that's when I went and looked it up, because it's not something I just knew about. So.
Yeah. As a tattoo artist, a body tattoo artist, when you said you tattoo over scars, like I see that all the time. Even like I do work on a lot of self-harm scars, for example, and I feel like there's two options. You can go a camouflage route, which is obviously what I'm there to provide, but then also there is the ability for somebody like yourself to actually be tattooing over those scars to camouflage them in that fashion. When you would do that, how would you find that from like that stage of time, if you had worked on something like that, to now? Like, what is the difference between the two now that you've had more paramedical education?
Honestly, the paramedical makes sense of how things worked when I did tattoo them.
Yeah.
So you'd have like your first sitting, and you would so you're doing a solid color over them. Usually I would try to approach it with textures to try and hide the marks, because it's still slightly apparent, especially if you have varying colors like light reds and things like that. So if you put a flower over it, you're more likely to hide it, almost like a cover up kind of point of view. But sometimes they're a bit textured. So I found it, you do your first session and they come back and they wouldn't be as lumpy or as textured. It's kind of the same concept of microneedling with the machine. But at first you didn't, you're just like, okay, so you have to do a couple sessions and it would help it. But it never really occurred to me, what if I just went over it with a microneedle? Like I didn't know what microneedling was. I just knew that if I worked it and appropriately, you don't want to get them too, they are sensitive, and sometimes things don't take color well, and you're like, okay, can't guarantee it. That's all the same kind of stuff. But yeah, they definitely complement each other. And I actually have a few clients right now, even for top surgery scarring. He wants to get more tattoos on his chest, but he wants me to work on the scars to lessen them so that they'll cover better for his artwork. So it's kind of nice understanding what the tattoo artist is looking for their artwork versus where he wants to be. So it's nice to kind of be in the middle ground and have the knowledge of both.
Well, and it makes you such a more well-rounded tattooer when you can say, oh, hey, why don't we soften these scars? And maybe you're going to change your mind on the artwork. Maybe we're going to work somewhere else and do something that maybe you wanted the art more, but I couldn't do it because of these scars. Like, I think the possibilities are endless when you have different skill sets with this. So I
Giving
love
people
that.
options. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think in the past, like, I know from experience tattooing over scars, like on my body, they were just like, hey, this is what you could do. Like, it wasn't like, oh, hey, could I? They're just like, no, just stop right there, girl. I'll put a Buddha on that for you. I'm like, oh, I didn't want a Buddha. Well, that's all we can put. Oh, okay, great. So, you know, to be able to have those options, I think is amazing. And, you know, for paramedical tattoo artists, if you're not a body tattooer, which a lot of us are not, there is, I just think, like, especially from my side, seeing a lot of these different cases, people's preference is to get it to look normal, which is more like, I want to say normal as in skin, or like the area wasn't damaged, versus putting a tattoo over it. Because even putting a tattoo over trauma can still be a reminder. But if you can camouflage trauma, I feel like that's a different part of a healing journey for someone. So I love that there are options. I love that we have these different avenues, and you guys have been successful in executing that stuff. So yay. All right. Okay, Jessica, let's jump back over to you. Okay. How and when did you begin offering areola tattoos in your business?
I only very recently started offering areola. I recently rebranded from, well, Jeska Rabbit was my tattoo artist name, so I did keep that, and I'm Renew by Jeska Rabbit.
Hey, can I just say, that might be my favorite Instagram handle of all time. So
my mom used to call me that as a kid.
So
cute.
Yeah. And your hair's red? Like, come on.
Well, I did dye it this color. It's going back to blonde, but
keep it red, because why wouldn't you? It looks so great.
Fault. Thank you.
Sorry, I interrupted.
I don't even remember what I was saying now. Oh, why I started, or where I started. So I recently started up inside of a salon here called Glamour Queens, and I was kind of humming and hawing. Originally, they didn't have like a room private area. Okay. So Brandy, the owner there, was super kind, and she built a little room in the back for us to use, or for me to use. And I've been working out of there. And recently, as of yesterday, I have the go-ahead. I'm going to be moving into a clinic in town, the Hill Center. So I'll be working out of the clinic with the doctors and stuff like that, which is something that was one of my goals to work towards next year, and it's happening already. So I'm pretty pumped about that. So that was the only hesitation, was kind of the whole privacy behind it. And some people, depending on what they've gone through, some women I find don't really like walking into a salon environment when they don't feel whole. So I was kind of debating on doing like some in the clinic and some in the salon, kind of similar to how you mentioned working under like a plastic surgeon and stuff. And then they had a room available, so I'll just be there.
Congratulations. I love that for you. I think a sacred space for these survivors is key. Like, it's so important. It's such a part of the process, and some I think are maybe less affected, but I generally speaking, I think, you know, private and, you know, not in everybody's faces just gives them that safety. So I'm really happy that you do have a space like that. Awesome. Okay, Kristin, what about you?
So I recently started offering areola tattoos about a year ago. And I was in a great space. It was a big room, and unfortunately there was just nowhere for me to have that privacy. And I totally agree with you guys. It has to make them feel that they are, you know, safe with you, and that this is a safe space. And if we're in a big room full of other people, it's just adding to trauma, and I was really trying to avoid that. So I'm also in a tiny little space here. I just shut my door. I've got lots of privacy. It's girly and soft and pretty and nice, and just very kind of comfortable and relaxing for them. And that was one of my biggest goals. Congratulations on going into the clinic. That is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Super exciting. So I've been doing this for the areolas for about a year. But I also have a ton of goals as far as working with the City of Hope in Los Angeles. My little sister actually was coincidentally out at a bachelorette party, and the bride's mom said, hey, you know, what does your sister do? And we started talking, and my sister busts out all these beautiful areola pictures and start showing them off, you know, and it's so cute because I'm so proud of them. And they basically have invited me to come out and to work and do some volunteer work with the City of Hope, and hopefully a little bit restorative and, you know, helpful toward these survivors and anybody who needs it at that point, which is really good because, I mean, honestly, for me, it's not even just about the career aspect. It's so much.
Yeah,
So
back for sure.
Well, congratulations on that as well.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I think for both of you to get your foot in the door with, you know, not just like a volunteer, but is like with plastic surgeons or even dermatologists, it really will grow your paramedical tattoo career quickly, because I'm sure you've probably already realized that this is still a foreign concept to people. And when they hear you do this, like, you know, they, even physicians still to this day, they're like, they'll corner me and be like, tell me more, like, what else do you do? And, you know, I'll flip through and show them some pictures, and I mean, they're stunned. I feel like in my market where I live, it's kind of not like that as much, because there's more of us working and doctors talk a lot. So, you know, the pictures get shown around, and it's just, you guys can support and provide that type of education to them as well. And that is honestly a game changer for you, your business. It elevates, it separates you from competition. So I'm a big advocate of going out to make those connections. So good job, girls. Good job. All right. Okay, Jessica, let's bop over. What does providing areola tattoos mean to you personally and in your business?
Personally, I think of, I think of like my aunt when I first found out that she had to have mastectomy. I believe it was just unilateral. She lives in Newfoundland, so I don't see her very often. And the stories of her like riding around, like, or her husband had to bring her prosthetic one time, and he's like wearing it, riding to bring it to her, and like her having that. And just thinking of her in the back of my mind, and how in a way I wish I could have like helped her in some way. And you know, if that's something she would want, or I see her anytime, then I could do that for her. So it just kind of related on a family level, because that's something I thought of. Like, she was the first person I knew that had gone through that. And like, I might not have been living in the same province as her, but it always had been on my mind. So that kind of, to me, I always relate to my aunt in that way. I always think of her first, and then I think, you know, from there, all the other people I've met and talked to in my tattooing career and things they've gone through. And it just really means a lot to me. I'm just a natural healer. I mean, I got my leaves in my hat, but I am just a natural healer. I like making people feel good, and that's what I believe I'm on this planet to do. And I did what I could through tattooing, and this way I'm able to do even more. So, and there's not a lot of people here that do it. There's a lot of people, like you said, if people don't know about it, even just the thought of, like, you know, getting rid of some stretch marks. I have so many moms, and like my mom groups are like, oh my God, like, you can do that and it changed their life. And you're like, yeah, it doesn't have to be surgical. It can be cosmetic. And it's just, it means a lot to me to give something to someone, especially when they didn't know it was possible. It's like, I can make dreams come true that you didn't know you could have.
Yeah. Honestly, like 90% of my paramedical tattoo clients at some point said, I never knew this existed. And so if you're not someone who kind of does a deep dive into the internet, because even if you're bothered, you're just like, oh, whatever. But, you know, if you're not one of those people who's like, it bothers me, so I'm going to try and like do the biggest deep dive that I can find to maybe have something that might improve it or fix it or whatever. Those are the people that end up here. But think of all the ones that don't do that. Like, they're just walking around because their doctor said, well, there's nothing else we can do. Or they were at their dermatologist, said scar's the best it can be, you know, blah, blah, blah. Or you've spent thousands of dollars on lasers or different types of treatments and creams and really not had great results. So there are so many people out there that don't know that we do this. So
yeah. And even like before they go for surgery, I have a friend of mine, has very aggressive breast cancer in her family. So she's going to go and get a double mastectomy done. And she had said to me, she's like, I am totally getting my nipples done by you. She almost feels better knowing that she can go get this done and she can still have those when she's finished. So even just knowing that that's a possibility and that's what she can go do, and she wants to do it with me, it's like, I'm so happy that I can help you before it happens.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
kind of I don't know, like almost a moral support or something like that.
Yeah. It gives people sort of some insurance that there is another step that can happen after all of that to help improve it even more. I just had a girl with tons of skin cancer removed, and they've almost removed her entire nose. So you can imagine it's, pretty disfiguring, and she's super traumatized. So in the meantime, while they do reconstructive surgery, she's reached out to me, and I've said, yeah, absolutely. Like, we can, with that graft, I can make that graft look more like your original skin. We can put freckles and texture in there that will blend it. And she said that that has really lifted her depression with what she's been going through. I mean, that is the stuff that gets me up in the morning. I feel like you can do that all the time. What an amazing freaking job we have, Yeah. Okay. Kristin, over to you.
Thank you. So for me, I have to say, I think I'm kind of along the same lines. I'm a mother hen. I've always been. I really, want to take care of everybody and everything and make everybody feel good. And I have been very blessed, and I have not had to have a very personal experience with cancer myself. I luckily have not had to be very present with someone who's had to struggle through it. So my kind of journey started with kind of my own issues. I had been in a really bad car accident when I was 15, and my entire abdomen is basically a huge scar.
Wow.
And when I was a kid, it didn't bug me because it was just something that I had, at 15 years old, you just deal with it. And it's like, well, that's the best it's going to be. But as an adult, I got a little bit more self-conscious about it. And I think that's basically how I ended up kind of stumbling upon paramedical tattooing and areola tattooing and all of these really neat kind of avenues. So for me, it's more about kind of, balancing the healing on the outside as well as on the inside. Because most people think, oh my gosh, they have a scar. Well, there's more than a scar there. It kind of creates this huge issue that we have. And I've had to deal with it personally. And the biggest reason I think that I've kind of been even more so driven to this is when I started talking about it, even to the clients that I had that would come in for their brows. I would have several women who had gone through, chemotherapy and could not regrow their brows. And they just lit up. I had one client that was in here for her brows, and she actually was my first areola that I had done. She came in as my model, and she had just a scar. She had a partial areola that was left, and she was very self-conscious about it. But what really got me was when we were done, it looked so amazing to her that I handed her the small mirror, and she was like, wow, that's almost stunned in shock. And she stood up and looked in the big mirror and instantly started bawling. She was she didn't realize how much it had affected her because she kind of tried to block it out, thinking it was not something that she could fix. So like you said, every day we get to wake up, we get to go to work. I don't ever think I get to go to work. I get to go and play at my studio all day. Like, how fun.
Exactly. Same.
So it's pretty.
I know that today's live was highlighting areolas and why they're important and talking about education around that. But I think also that is the important topic of today, but also just the scarring around that cancer-based tattooing. So like port scars around reconstruction, all of that goes so hand in hand. So I think people sometimes think just like the areola tattoo, but there's a lot that still goes around all of that. So to have the knowledge how to improve that, these women are not looking for perfection. They are looking for improvement. I mean, you could not have a better client if you asked for it. I mean, one of my favorite things about paramedical is people are not coming in expecting me to make miracles happen. And the gratitude that they have for improvement is remarkable.
Agreed.
All right, you guys, we are out of time today for our live, but that was so fun. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. And hi. I have like starstruck a little bit because I've been following you for so long, Jody. It's like, oh, she's going to talk to us. Like, actually talk to us.
Everybody has been hearing about this since I got the email.
I was so nervous earlier. Like, I'm still sweating. I like this because you can't really tell, but now I told you. So
I love it. I will say, whenever I hear that, it doesn't even register. Like, even when Jeska, you said you're really nervous, I'm just like, girl, don't worry. Like, I don't know. I think just because for me, I am very naturally just a super down to earth person. So if people somehow say like you guys said, you're starstruck, I'm like, why? Why? Well, tell me, like, expand on that. Anyways, thank you for saying that. It's too kind. And I love that your students, thank you for being a part of my academy. Thank you for coming on this live. And I look forward to staying in touch with you guys to hear about your successes. And yeah, I'm really grateful to have you.
until next time.
All right, ladies, have a wonderful rest of your week and we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.